Hello, hello. Welcome to Notorious Momz, the podcast. I am here with my girl Tami from Unwind.
Hi, hi, hi.
You may know her from Instagram because that's where she does all her lives. And introduce yourself, Tami.
Hi, I'm Tami from Unwind, and yes, I'm always on Instagram. Me being a mom, that's the fastest, quickest way that I could connect with people. So that's where you'll catch me, guys. And that's where I met you, which I'm super excited. Thank you for having me. It's super
Yeah.
awesome. I love what you're doing. I love everything that you do, especially for us that we sometimes want to speak up and have a voice and hear out everybody else's drama.
I think that this is kind of why, like, I created Notorious Moms. Like, so nobody knows, but we actually met in person just the other day,
Yeah.
yesterday. And it was really dope to be in a group of women that are like-minded. And we kind of had a conversation about like why I started Notorious Moms. And I just feel like, we all have a little notorious moms inside of us. But sometimes we feel bad about saying things that people really don't want to hear, like how sometimes our kids could be jerks, or we're having some kind of issue, or we're struggling with something. A lot of people don't like to put that kind of put that out there because nobody ever wants to seem like vulnerable. And that's kind of what like my whole show is about, is like being yourself, being vulnerable, being authentic, and just going with life, because sometimes shit gets real.
Yeah, it does.
And
It does, girl.
and and that's just how it goes, especially when you are a mom and you are a mommypreneur. And I say mommypreneur,
Oh,
entrepreneur.
I use that all the time. They be like, "Oh, what you do?" I'm like, "Hello, mom."
Yeah. So it kind of brings me to like our topic for tonight, because I feel like this is something that a lot of people don't really talk about. We're both moms. I just had a baby like 2 years ago, and I know 2 years sounds like a long time, but it's really not. Not in human years. 2 years is like really short, especially when you have like a crazy toddler running around.
Mhm.
um and just like how intimacy during after pregnancy kind of affects moms. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, because you know sex is kind of like an intimate part of people's lives, and nobody really wants to talk about that. So that's kind of what I want to just chat about tonight, like how it affects women. And I
Yeah,
hope that our conversation reaches out to someone that is probably having or may be having the same situation.
for sure.
So I'll let you tell your story, and
Okay.
then we'll take it from there.
Well, I am a mom of a beautiful, smart, intelligent little boy. He's 6 years old. And it was a struggle at first when it came to being intimate with my partner. Because I kind of felt like it could go either way. Either you could give your all to your partner, or like me, I struggled a lot with my insecurities. I was super insecure about my body right after I gave birth. I used to be such a fly girl with a Coca-Cola shaped body,
Girl,
and
you
I
still fly.
I gotta say, you gotta be positive, right? You always gotta talk good
Yes.
about yourself. Yes, you're right. Um, but it was such a huge change. It was a drastic change for me. My breasts got bigger. My booty was always big, but it got bigger. My belly got bigger. I had stretch marks, something that you as a mom should be proud of. But at that moment, I didn't know how to handle it, especially
Right.
because I was a mom so young.
Right.
So with that being said, I felt so insecure showing my body to my partner, and that was the beginning stages of how pregnancy and having a child um kind of, I don't say it was like like something bad that happened, but it was something that I needed to work on that I didn't know how to, right? um and that did create a lot of problems in the relationship, because you're supposed to have intimacy with your partner. That's the way that you show love.
Right.
um I had to work on that slowly, had to work on it. But then my son started getting older, and he has been 24/7. He is 6 years old, and I have been 24/7 with that little boy, like 24/7. I left my job as a CNA, and I started working in a daycare just so I could watch him while I was working in the daycare. Okay, so imagine that. So he used to sleep with me. He used, and and that again is something that gets in the way of you being intimate with your partner.
Right.
My child has no filter. He'll walk in without knocking, like nothing. So imagine, and girl, there has been times. it's,
Girl, you ain't even got to go no further. 'Cause I already know.
so yeah, that was a struggle. Still to this day is a struggle. But there are ways and tips that I have learned that we could talk about that more.
Yes, definitely.
Um, that had helped a lot, and especially talking about it and listening to other women that are going through the same thing has helped a lot. And that's why I love what you're doing right now, because it's like people need to hear this. It's something that I didn't think that who would want
That
to hear
people
something like
talk
this.
about, right? Like it's so funny
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like, you know, there's like so many pros and cons with like social media, but I think social media is like it has been really great in bringing people together and like having people tell their stories because it's like you don't really know and it's like technically we're like all strangers and we're on the internet, but it's just like we all have the same stories and we can relate to one
Yeah,
another by just like having conversations.
absolutely,
So
absolutely, I
it's like
agree.
I think that you and me, like I struggled with that too when I was pregnant. Well, I had my son when I was like younger and I was single. Like I didn't have a partner at that time to, guide me through my pregnancy. But
Mm-hmm.
with my daughter, my husband was very, very present. And that was one of the things that bothered me the most about like getting pregnant again was like
Mm-hmm.
my body. 'Cause I got like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't gain a lot of weight, but I got very, very large.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
my belly got big, just like you, like, my breasts were big, and it was just, like, those insecurities about, like, being large and pregnant, they would kinda, like, eat you up, like, sometimes I would just be, like, we're at, like, somewhere, and I'm over here, like, I'm pregnant, and I'm just, like I'm looking at him, I'm like, "Are you looking at her? Are you looking at her?" Like, I wouldn't
Yes,
say it to him, but I
yes,
would be thinking it in my mind, like, "Is he looking at that girl over there?" But I think it's
it's
just
true.
because the
Even
shit
being
that goes on in
pregnant,
our heads.
even
Right.
being intimate when you're pregnant, it's like, oh, are we supposed to be doing
It's
this? Like, I used to,
weird. Yeah, it
I
it
used to.
feels definitely feels weird.
That was like one of the main things. I remember being pregnant and then trying to be intimate with him. I feel so awkward. I mean, of course, don't get me wrong. There was a time in the pregnancy, like I guess I think towards the end or maybe in the middle, where I wanted to be intimate all the time. Like it was
Oh
just
my
like
god, it's the hormones.
it was just
Mm.
crazy. Anywhere, I didn't care where it was. It was like, no, we gotta do it now. But there was also times that I was like, oh no, not right now, and stop. And it's just it's a the woman's body and the way that it works is so crazy, and the way that our brains are connected to everything else is like it amazes me.
Definitely. And it's just like, I see a lot of like when I look on Instagram too, like I see a lot of pregnant women and they make pregnancy look so sexy, so
Yep.
amazing. And I used to think about it like, back then, like I don't feel sexy. Like, how do I make myself feel sexy during pregnancy? Like,
Hmm.
do they make like I don't know. I didn't feel truly like sexy. So I get that because it's like, I wasn't thin to begin with. And when you're not like super, super thin, I feel like if you're like a little chubby and then you get pregnant, you just get
Hmm.
more chubby. You don't get
Hmm.
sexy, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's not true, but it makes sense because trust me, I get it. Because there's some girls that do the maternity pictures, and I'm like, look how beautiful. But if I'm there in that milk tub,
I've
I will
seen
look
that
like that.
one. I
So
think
I
it's
get what
also
you're
like
saying.
our perception of ourselves too in that stage,
That's the
you
thing.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I think we also rely on our partners a lot to make us feel that way.
Yep.
And sometimes they may fall a little short, which I can
Mm-hmm.
understand because it's like the whole pressures of being pregnant. You know, I think the men go through the same kind of pressures, but differently. They're not carrying the baby, but they have to deal with our shit and our hormones
Yeah,
and our craziness,
and that's a lot.
unfortunately.
It's a lot. If we're crazy on the regular, imagine when we're pregnant. It's a lot, and it's
Yeah,
something that we need to give them that, like, let them know that we get it, because a lot of us do not do that, and I'm saying us because I did not do that in my pregnancy, and that's why when it came to being intimate, it was very hard for him also, because it was like, is she in the mood today or not?
yeah,
You know, like, when
right.
is she gonna be this crazy person, or is she gonna be this loving person? And it's like, sometimes, we need to speak up to our partners also. We need to give them that, the at least communication,
Right. But it's hard. It's hard to kind of communicate that when your body's going through so many changes. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't realize it. This was my second pregnancy, but my first pregnancy was totally different. They say every single pregnancy is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And this pregnancy, I just felt like I felt super like I'm already an emotional person, but I felt like super duper emotional. Like some
Mm-hmm.
days I was happy, some days I was sad, some days I was mad as hell, some days I didn't want to be bothered with anybody. And it's just like, is this normal?
Yeah.
Like this can't be normal.
I know. I feel you. You're making me think of like how I used to feel. Like it was just an emotional roller coaster. And sometimes, you know what I used to say to myself? I used to be like, I used to tell my partner, I used to be like, I don't feel loved. And he used to do everything. He used to go above and beyond to make me feel comfortable, to make sure that, I was beautiful, because that was my thing. I'm like, I don't feel beautiful. I feel humongous. I feel like a butterball. I used to call myself everything in the book.
Wow.
And even if he used to make me feel sexy and amazing and awesome, I was still in my head, and I was still not what I used to be. And a lot of women go through that. They don't feel like they are what they used to be, and it's sad. I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong, because we go through it, but it's
Right.
something that we need to like really work through, like, and reach out, and before it gets too bad. You get me? Because
Right.
if you keep thinking like that, it's gonna get even worse.
Yeah, because
And
I've heard like a lot of stories, like in past conversations with people, that some relationships during pregnancy get really, really strong. Like they mesh together well, and they become stronger than than when the pregnancy started. And then others, I've heard, like a pregnancy kind of like broke their relationship apart
that
because the emotions were just too high. There were too many arguments, and it didn't just work.
that
So
was my relationship. My relationship, the pregnancy, I don't like saying it like that, like it broke us, but it
right,
broke us. And
right,
it had to take us really, really fighting to get the relationship back. And it is because of the emotions. It's because also we were so young. So I felt like my life was ruined.
right. Yeah,
Like I had to stop working. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And I think he felt that he was at fault. So he probably felt, and I'm saying it because we had conversations, and
hmm,
he has expressed that he has felt that, you know it's his fault that I'm a stay-at-home mom. It's his fault
right.
that I felt like I wasn't doing nothing with my life, and that's why now I'm doing above and beyond for myself, if that makes any sense. Like, that's why I'm
Yes,
always on social media. That's why I'm doing my side hustles. I'm doing what I need to do, because I didn't want to feel like that anymore. I didn't want to feel like my life stopped because I got pregnant, because your life does not stop when you get pregnant.
sure don't.
and
It sure don't.
and your relationship doesn't stop because you got pregnant either. So you have to remember that. intimacy is such a big thing, and it's something that I had to like remind myself daily. Like, intimacy, it's a big thing in your life, because like I expressed to you when I met you, I stopped being intimate with my husband for months.
So
Months.
what was like your turnaround point? Like when did you say, all right, this has to change? Like something has to give.
You
Like
know
we
what it
can't.
was? I spoke to my mom. My mom has been, she is a very quiet, minds her own business type of person. And my
No,
relationship with my man is very was going through such a rough path that I saw him reaching to make choices that he wasn't supposed to do, in a sense,
got
like
you.
he was trying to talk to other, trying to get attention from other people.
Got you.
So as soon as I told that to my mom said, you could do either one, or like this, you could do this or that. You could leave
Because
and
that's always an option, right?
become a
Some
single mom,
people, yeah,
right?
some people don't feel that as an option, but that absolutely is an option, though.
Uh-huh. Or she goes, or you could, I guess, grow up and give your man what he needs. Because if he's not getting it from you, and she told me straight up, if he's not getting it from you, he's gonna get it from somewhere else. And I don't blame anybody that does that. I don't blame them.
Right, right.
So it was just like a, like, you know, when your
Shout out
parent
to
like,
your mom. She gave you some good advice.
but you know when your mom tells you something, you're like, okay, mom, whatever you say. So it
Yeah.
was like, you know what, she's right. Like, what am I doing? Like, I cannot be upset at him trying to find it. Because, okay, let's make this clear. He wasn't cheating on me or anything like that.
Right.
But I know that he was curious about other people, about the idea of feeling like a man again. Because he wasn't feeling like a man in this relationship. I wasn't giving him that, you know?
Right.
And us as women should treat their man like a man, and show them love. And
Yes, I think that's important. I spoke about that on one of my lives a while back, and I'm actually probably going to bring it up again because I feel like sometimes us as women, we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go. But as far as us like in the workforce, being independent, making sometimes we make more money than our spouses or, significant others. And sometimes I feel like they feel like, some men can feel like very like demasculated because the woman that they're with is making more money or is doing something that they're not doing. And I think that you're absolutely right. Sometimes we need to show our significant others that they do matter. They are important, like not just cast them to the side. And I'm not saying that that's what you did, but
no, no,
obviously
but
you were
yeah.
pregnant and you were going through like your emotional, issues. So it's kind of like you had to deal with what you had to deal with first. So I think your mom gave you, shout out to your mom again. She gave you super duper great advice.
Yeah, it was something that I needed to hear. Also, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm a strong believer in my faith. Um, of course, I'm not like super strict, because of course I sin. We're all sinners, right? But
Ain't that the truth? Whew.
yeah, like I
I
sin every day,
I ask
girl.
for forgiveness every day, girl. Every day. I'll be like, Lord,
So,
because
but
I
then
believe
one
in God
thing,
as well.
yeah,
Every day.
one thing that I learned within my relationship, with God, and me trying to connect with Him, is that we need to give that to our men. We need to give them attention. That's it. If that's our husbands, that's our husbands. We need to give them our all. You're supposed to. It says it in the Bible. You're supposed to sleep with your man and please your man however possible. Like, how much more clear did it need to get for me? And it was just like, and he used to say that to me too. He used to be like, "You want? Listen." He goes, "I go to work. I take care of my family. I do what I have to do. You as a woman are supposed to please your man," and it's so true. Like, it's so funny because us Latinas, we grow up like, please, boy, like I do whatever I want to do.
That's a fact, because that's how I
you
feel.
know. So for somebody
Like
to say you gotta do that is like, hold on.
I can agree with you in that aspect. Like I'm all about like pleasing my partner, when it comes to that. I feel like as long as it's reciprocated, then we good. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody plays a role in their relationship, whatever that is. Um, and that's important because you know what? And that is something that I do agree with. That it's like if you are not, sex is not a whole relationship, but it is a big portion of a relationship. Because if you don't have that intimate connection with the person that you're with, you're not gonna wanna like have sex with them. You're not gonna wanna be intimate with them. You're not gonna wanna be freaky diggy with them, you know, like because there's nothing there, and I think that
Mhm.
that's like you said communication before, and I'm going to ask you what is your tips to like women that are going through something like this, or like what would you suggest that they do if they're having some kind of issue when it comes to sex and pregnancy and their partner and that kind of stuff.
Well, it depends. Okay, so this is my first thing. My first thing is if you feel like, because I felt like I was alone, right? I felt like I was alone. I felt like I wasn't loved. I felt the worst of the worst. Go see help. And I'm saying it because
Got
I
you.
suffer from postpartum depression and I didn't seek help for a year. I was dealing with that for a whole year. So I know that the way that I was feeling towards my partner when it came to sex, when it came to my relationship, wasn't just me. It was
Got you.
postpartum depression, and then they got into the full blown depression because I didn't do nothing about it. Okay, so go seek help. That's one. Two, you gotta take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself first, if you don't love yourself, if you don't appreciate what you have, how you are, how you look, then you cannot give your all to your partner. You can't. Because then you're going to be having sex like, oh, I can't. No, not like this, not like that, And it's
Yeah,
like,
because it's gonna be weird. Because it's
exactly.
just like we
Exactly.
just
And it's
doing it to do it.
exactly
And
like
you don't want to
toma.
like you don't want to just do it. Right, exactly. You don't want to just do it to do it. Like, you want that intimate connection. You want that sexual, you want that passion.
Oh,
You
yes.
just don't want to lay there and be like, dámelo.
Mhm. Exactly. And three, you have to be spontaneous. Like you have to like show them that you want to have them. Like show them. Like if you feel like, oh my sex life with my man, it's not on it's not flaming anymore. Do something about it. Dress up.
Yeah. I was just about to say that too, because I'm like, there was
If
this
that's like a thing,
movie.
put candles.
Yeah, there was a movie that I saw. I forget the name of it, but they were kind of like they would do like role plays. They would like go to a bar and act like they don't know each other. And it was so funny because it's just like, yo, if that's what works for y'all, that's
Hmm.
totally like great. But I think that, that's a part of keeping it kind of like spicy. Like you have to
Hmm.
do what works for you.
Yes. And
And
it
communicating that is important.
yes, absolutely. Because to be honest, dressing up is not for me. Like that's not
Right.
my thing. My
Right.
thing is you gotta dine. Like give me some dinner. Give me wine.
Wine and dine. You gotta
Girl.
unwind you and dine
Yes,
you.
yes, that's my thing. Girl, you know what's my thing too? Like when he cleans the house, like when I see him washing the dishes, do you know what that does to me? I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Like
That works. And you know what? It's so funny because I'm like that too. Like with my husband, when I see him, like, or when he says certain things, it's just like, yeah, I see you.
yeah.
Like, I
It's like
see
wait
what you're
until
doing.
my
Yeah.
son's asleep. Wait.
But it's true. And like I think sometimes us women we forget. Like because we're so accustomed sometimes to like doing our own thing. We're working, we're moms, we are, we have businesses, we have the kids, and sometimes our relationships tend to suffer
Mm,
because of everything else. And if it's not communicated, I think I struggled with that during my pregnancy as well with my husband. I'm not a very good communicator, which is funny because a lot of my friends tell me like that's not true. But I guess with him, I don't communicate really well. So sometimes I say stuff and it's like, oh, I didn't mean that, but I'm trying to say this.
mm.
So we've gotten better with the talking, which is important.
communication can be in different ways also. Maybe you're not communicating in his love language. That's something
You
that you need to.
that's what Vanessa mentioned, the love languages, the other day, and I thought that was really interesting because I
Yeah.
was reading up on that, and
Girl, there's a book.
there's like,
I'll
is there
give
like
you a book.
five?
I'll
Is
send it
there
to you.
five of
Yes.
them? There's five love languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was like a little, I think it was like a little assignment of like putting your love languages in a specific order and see what your first love language is and see what your partner's first love language is.
Well, there's a quiz that you could take. I'll send it to you. There's a quiz that you
Send it
could
to
take.
me.
Yeah. And there's a book, and it's something that the reason why Vanessa brought it up is because I speak to her about it all the time. I'm like, yes, you want to communicate with your partner, but are you communicating in his love language? That's the thing, because if you're not communicating in his love language, he's not gonna hear you out. Or if you're not telling him what your love language is, he's not gonna know how to like make you happy. You know, for
So
example,
that's really a
yeah,
thing.
yeah, because my love language is act of service. That's why he needs to like for me to want to be in the mood. I need to see him cleaning, taking care of the house. That girl, that does it for me.
That's your love language. That's your number one love language.
Yes, because some people are physical touch. So like some people, if you touch them a certain way, give them a massage or something like that, that
Right.
gets them up and running.
Right.
You said that you like how when he talks to you a certain way.
Yes.
You know, words of affirmation, girl.
There you
It's
go.
different ones, and it's
That's
like,
one of them. Is
mm-hmm.
words of affirmation?
Yes,
I
physical
think that may be
touch.
my that
Mm-hmm.
would be my first one then.
Girl,
I'm gonna say that.
it's true. It's true. I thought it was so silly, but it's so true, and that's how you can communicate with your partner when it comes to being intimate.
Right. I think that that's like important. I think
Mm-hmm.
communication is key, like in any relationship, but specifically like with your partner, because you have
Mm-hmm.
to tell them, like, if you're, especially like if you're living together, some people have like, they have relationships and they don't live together, which I think those kind of relationships are like good. Because once you once you move in with someone too, that's like you really get to know them, like know them.
You know what's funny? Because me and my husband, we were going out, and then we moved in really, really quickly because I got pregnant within the year that we were together.
Got you.
Um, but that wasn't an issue. He's very, very like, if I don't clean today, let's say, and if I leave the house a mess, he's very like, okay, we'll do it tomorrow. Like, it's fine. Like, he's very like nonchalant. So I think me and him never really crashed when it came like to stuff like that. It's more
Right.
of the way that I am with my verbal. Because I'm very, I have an opinion. He says, girl,
You seem so sweet, girl, please.
girl, not to him. Today he was like, girl, what's going on with you? I'm like, not today, not in the mood.
you they say though, you got to be careful with the quiet ones.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
got to be careful with the quiet ones. But that is so dope, that like the love language thing. I'm definitely gonna look into that
Look into
because
it.
I heard that it exists. I saw like this thing online, and I heard, Vanessa brought it up, and then I heard a couple of other people like in conversation talk about the love language stuff. And I think that's a great tip. You have to like know your partner's love language.
Yeah, we
And
did an
especially,
episode on Unwind. You should really look into that.
oh yeah, I did.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm gonna check it
Yeah,
out.
check it out, and then we could do an episode, and I'll be back, girl. I'll be back.
For sure. So, girl, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so dope having you here. Thank you for taking the time out and sharing your experiences and giving, the ladies the tips. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes,
Let
well,
them
thank you
know.
for having me. This was awesome. I love doing this. Especially, talking to ladies and talking to them about everything that we go through on like a daily basis, because this is daily, guys. This is something that we need to work on each and every day. But yeah, you can find me on Unwined with Tami and V on Instagram. I'll make sure to put my link in the comments, and on my Instagram, Tami.m.j.
Yes, it is Tami.m.j. I saw it the other day. I'm like, is this her? But then when I typed it in to tag you on my post, I was like, yeah, that's her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or like, I gotta make sure I put the dots and everything.
Yes, girl.
Well, Tami, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you so
talk
much, honey.
soon. It was a pleasure. Thank you for coming on Notorious Momz,
I
the
know.
podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.